Good evening from London. Welcome to Piers Morgan Uncensored. There's a common assumption that the world is inevitably going nuts. The list of books, brands, movies, songs, ideas, products, people and words deemed offensive grows ever longer. Those of us huddled together on the tiny island of common sense will be gradually submerged by the rising tide of lunacy until the two-spirit penguins are in charge of the zoo. But recently, I've been feeling the little green shoots of optimism. There's a recovery from Woklahoma. There's a growing dossier of evidence that actually most people don't think like these idiots and have had enough of all the woke nonsense. At the end of last week, Sebastian Coe, the president of the World Athletics Council, one of Britain's greatest athletes, made this announcement.
The Council has agreed to exclude male to female transgender athletes who have been through male puberty from female world ranking competitions from March the 31st.
Well, hallelujah. How's it taken this long? Athletes born male with their bigger, stronger male bodies and superior muscle mass cannot compete against women fairly. It's just not equal. So that's a victory for common sense. Last month, the British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak startled me by saying this. The world's most controversial question, bizarrely, has become, what is a woman?
Yeah, of course I know what a woman is, an adult human female.
Incredible. That was a question that stumped Sir Keir Starmer, leader of the opposition. It stumped Supreme Court justices in America. It stumped poor old Nicola Sturgeon, who's now lost her job because she just couldn't work out what a woman is. A politician finally having the guts to actually say the obvious and not worry about being condemned immediately as a vicious bigot, because he's not. Another victory for common sense. The shocking case of Isla Bryson, a double rapist who transitioned to become a woman after reaching trial and then demanded a place in a female prison where he would have been surrounded by people he could then attack, as he had done before, united the country in disbelief. Only Nicola Sturgeon, the First Minister of Scotland, didn't get that memo.
Trans women are women, but in the prison context, there is no automatic right for a trans woman.
So there are contexts where a trans woman is not a woman?
No, there is circumstances in which a trans woman will be housed in the male prison estate.
Excruciating to watch one of the most successful women in modern politics literally end her career by not being able to stand up for women's rights. And that complete failure of basic common sense led to her departure. Well, days later, one of the titans of British politics was on the political scrap heap. Isn't that a lesson for everybody else? If you go against common sense, eventually there will be a day of reckoning. This week, students at a US university have been protesting the decision to invite the state's governor, Glenn Youngkin, potentially one of the presidential candidates for next year, to make a speech. His crime is being a Republican. He's actually a reasonably moderate Republican. 6,000 of these snowflake students have signed the petition to stop him. But remarkably, instead of bowing to this juvenile mob who just want to sit in their little tank talking to each other about the same things that they all agree on, as we've become accustomed to, they've gone ahead and invited him anyway. Another victory for common sense. And when reporters discovered that so-called sensitivity readers were purging classic novels by Roald Dahl, Ian Fleming, Agatha Christie and so on, cleansing them, even Eden Blyton got brought into this, cleansing them of apparently upsetting content, the public said, no, shut up, stop this madness. We couldn't find anybody to come on this show to defend it. Finally, the penny's dropping. And then we have The Guardian, the global home of history-bashing, logic-defying, virtue-signalling wokery, who've now had to issue a grovelling, massive front-page apology for itself for being a bunch of racists founded by somebody who employed slaves. Which even the most humorless, hard-nosed signallers of virtue have been forced to admit is actually very entertaining and amusing for the rest of us. And even Hollywood seems to be finally stirring too. Today, Jennifer Aniston lamented the fact publicly that many young people say Friends was offensive. The number of people saying, I can't believe it, but I actually agree with Piers Morgan, is reaching historic levels. It's getting very busy on Common Sense Island. I think we're going to need a bigger boat.